Good morning.
Good morning.
It's such a pleasure to be with you today. So I grew up in a gardening household. My great-grandmother was an avid gardener. And so I grew up in the backyard, and we had a lot of yard space, but all along the edge of the yard was her garden. And she had different flowers, and there was tomatoes. Occasionally she tried other vegetables, but tomatoes were her vegetable that she mostly grew. And then on the front, alongside the driveway, there was a patch of garden, and in front of the porch, there was a little bit of garden. She just loved to garden, and it's where I, learned about the care of roses and tulips and lilies of the valley, and there were other flowers that I never got the names of, but they were always present. And I never really got the gardening gene myself, but I loved to look at the garden. And I learned very quickly as a young child that there was a great yard for me to run around in and play, but do not step into the garden. There was a boundary there. You do not go into the garden. So I learned about gardens as a place of respect, a place that was special. And as I think about the work of my great-grandmother tending her garden, and I watched how she had so much care for every single flower, for the vegetables, that she made sure everyone had the right environment, had the right amount of water. Everything was placed in the right part of the area so that it got the right sunshine at the right angle, so it get the right light that it needed. So it's just a lot of care. And as I think about gardens, I think about us. Because like a garden, we need care, the right supportive environment so that we can grow and thrive. And so do our communities. And I think that the spirit of generosity is key to tending the garden of ourselves. When I looked at the proposed revision to Article 2, I was glad to see generosity as one of the values lifted up. And I like how it's worded. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us one to another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. In our reading, Mr. Rose exemplifies this type of generosity. Here he is with the most beautiful garden that's everything is high and beautiful and tall, and he's helping everyone with their gardens. He doesn't just hoard it for himself, oh, this is my work and I do this, but he helps everyone so that they can grow their garden as well. He shares the values of gardening and that community of helping one another and making sure that we give away much more than we eat. That is not just about what we have, but also what we share. And in that space, we hear the author talking about how difficult it was to fully accept that generosity, and how difficult that can be across difference, and her regret of not fully engaging her relationship with that community. But that generosity made her feel good, and she carried that with her. So what might this tending by generosity look like? So if we think about how we tend each other, a simple act of generosity can be sharing a smile. In an article by the Oxford scientist The author writes, according to various studies, smiling is contagious, proving the rumor right. When you see a smile, your orbitofrontal cortex activates, which processes sensory rewards. Therefore, when you catch another person smiling, you feel rewarded, which is a good feeling causing a smile. So one act that we can do to care for one another is just to smile and offer that. And they're likely going to smile as well, no matter where they are, what is going on for them. There's the offering of words of encouragement, compliments, helping people feel good about themselves, acknowledging the things that they do. I heard some of that in the joys that were shared of lifting up what the people in this community are doing and giving that compliment. And then there's those moments when we just show that you care. And these can be small gestures like a hug or a pat on the back, or a small gift or token of appreciation, a meal, assistance with a project that someone's working on. All those ways of generosity help people feel good and feel supported so that they can continue to grow and develop in the ways that let them show their best selves. But our congregations also need tending. We need to nurture this space and the people here in this community. And so one of the ways we tend our congregations is by volunteering, whether it's for a leadership position, it's for an event that's happening, a project that's going on, just to give a bit of your time to those around you. We just had the offering, and that is definitely one way of giving a little bit of your money, of your funds, to help the running of the congregation. And also being present. The fact that you're here online or in person is part of how you tend the congregation. By letting people know that you are here, supporting the work, both in Sunday morning, but also throughout the week in events that are happening. Being present to the work and the life of this community. And then as we move outside of our congregations, we can tend our communities as well. And it's helpful to pay attention to the issues. What's actually going on in the community? To see what issues need addressing. I did a little reading of your website, and I noticed that you have been focusing on environmental justice and climate change, racial justice, and women's equality as kind of the pillars of your social justice work. So how are they manifesting in Peacedale? What are the things that need happening? Are there other things that are an issue in Peacedale that might not be addressed by those three things that also might need a little love and attention? To just look around and notice and be present to those issues and see how you might be able to help. When you notice things that are not going well, that are unjust, we speak up, we name it. We don't just let it happen and ignore it, but it's actually addressing there are issues and being part of the solution by naming it and finding ways to help. However, ways that we can actually do that. And the most important piece of tending is, and in some ways, the one that we often don't pay attention to. So we need to tend to ourselves. We need to tend to our health. We are carrying so much right now. This world is hard. It's painful. There's so much grief and sadness and violence and pain and sorrow. So sometimes we need to do the things that keep us from that. Give ourselves breaks. Take a break from the news for a little bit. To allow yourself to recover from all of that onslaught of information. Take a social media break. Social media in some ways can be great in connecting, and also it can inundate you with all sorts of things that you don't need to know right now. Or to put yourself in comparison to others. So we get into that cycle of, oh, their life seems to be great and mine isn't as good as theirs. And so social media breaks can be helpful to reset our systems so that we can have the energy to engage in those again. I always advocate for seeing a therapist, having someone that can help you through those difficult times, or even when things are good, and just help you maintain a good equilibrium mentally and emotionally. Give our bodies the care that they need. And all our bodies are different, and we all need different types of care. But find what is it that you need, what is going to be helpful for you to be healthy for you. Not healthy what somebody else says is healthy, but what is going to be healthy for you. And then have a spiritual practice so that you are grounded in those difficult times. And whatever actually works for you, whether it's prayer or meditation or reading or walking, whatever works for you. And every once in a while, it's helpful to show yourself a little bit of affection. Actually, smile at yourself in the mirror and just say, I love you. Which seems in some ways kind of silly, but we don't often do that for ourselves. We're more likely to say, I love you to someone else, but not actually say, I love you to yourself. And to remind yourself that you are loved. And rest. Take time for rest. There's so much going on and there's so much to do. Taking a break and resting restores you. And I have learned, difficult, but I've learned that if I take a break and rest, I actually get more done after that rest than I did pushing my way through. And so taking some time for a break and a rest so that you can manage all that life throws at you. So I invite you to adopt a culture of generosity. We are a garden with different experiences and needs, and all need to be cared for in different ways. And may we care for one another so that we can all show our beautiful selves, both here and into the community and out around the world. Blessed be. Please rise and body your spirit for hymn number 21 and remain standing for the